Eyewitness News reporter Veronica Miracle is live now with more, including a last-ditch effort to declare a mistrial. Veronica.
Well, David, those jurors have gone home for the evening, but they will be back deliberating again behind closed doors first thing tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, as you said, California Representative Maxine Waters also making headlines regarding the case.
12 jurors now deliberating the fate of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. They will decide if Chauvin is guilty of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter over the death of George Floyd. In their closing arguments, the prosecution telling the jury to remember the unforgettable video that sparked worldwide protests.
Use your common sense. Believe your eyes. What you saw, you saw. For 9 minutes and 29 seconds. He begged, George Floyd begged until he could speak no more.
In their final statements, the defense arguing George Floyd's underlying health problems and drug use killed him, not Chauvin. Medical experts rejected that theory during the trial.
Did Mr. Floyd die exclusively of asphyxia, or were there other contributing factors?
As the jury now deliberates their decisions on the 3 charges, an anxious country awaits a verdict. Civil unrest now potentially affecting the case. Representative Maxine Waters making these comments about the trial.
I hope that we're going to get a verdict that is say guilty, guilty, guilty. And if we don't, we cannot go away. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
The judge denied a request for a mistrial over her comments, but says the defense may have grounds for appealing a guilty verdict later on.
I wish elected officials would stop talking about this case. Their failure to do so, I think, is abhorrent, but I don't think it has prejudiced us with additional material that would prejudice this jury. They have been told not to watch the news. I trust they are following those instructions.
David, it could take hours, days, even weeks for the jury to come back with a verdict. Chauvin faces potentially decades in prison if convicted on all 3 charges.
Call halal Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakak Wadash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom, Yasharallah. You know, usually I'm the first to comment in on the federal court type legal proceeding related stuff, especially when it comes to the premeditated murder of Israel. But all throughout the Derek Chauvin trial, I pretty much chose to keep silent. I know I was one of the first to point out the George Floyd ritual killing, which is exactly what it was a psyops, a psychological operation for those not in the know. And to this very day, nothing I've seen after the fact has even remotely begun to change my mind. Before the time of 9/29 or 9/29, the emphasis was on the number 846. I mean, Dave Chappelle did a whole stand-up routine, if you could call it that. The media calls it a performance special in any event. 846 was the time they wanted us to focus on. The theorists have suggested 846 is the time of impact. America 11 hit the north face of the North Tower on 9/11 as filmed in real time. I still don't know what to say to that other than some things are more easy to categorize as superstitious and fantastical depending on where you're at regarding your belief system. But I will say this, the fact that 9/29 is now the number of emphasis that we are being asked to pay special attention to, for those of you that can do the math, 9/29 is really 9/11. The fact we are being asked to strain our efforts on that particular number is of no coincidence. Now, without turning this into another lesson, from my understanding, as it was explained to me so many years ago, the significance of 9/11 is about man, 9, skipping the Almighty, the Most High Power, 10, to obtain his own godhood, 11. Hence you have 9/11, Kabbalah, mysticism, and order through chaos, if you can follow. Some go to Revelation 9 and 11 and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. We know Abaddon and Apollyon both mean destruction, and ties into Esau and his blessing being the sword, pursuant to Revelation 6:4 and 2 Thessalonians 2:3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Perdition meaning destruction, and relative to the idea of order through chaos. Who else but Esau Edom, so-called white man, the international bankers and elite globalists and rulers of the earth, simply identified as the Illuminati, does this describe. Others point out Genesis 11:9, really Genesis 11:1-9, but 9 getting straight to the point. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord, whose real name is Yahweh, did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord Yahweh scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. We know that Babel means confusion, and America is spiritual Babylon, for one, because it is the number one country in the world where you can do everything that is against the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. The same place supposedly founded on fundamental Christian principles. Everything is absolutely out of order, and hence why it must be destroyed. Let me read you the definition of chaos. You ready? And it reads, complete disorder and, wait for it, confusion. Now, I want to play you some audio from a show I listen to, mostly for entertainment, pleasure, and the off time I do walk away with some jewels, because my internal process, since being called into the truth, is to filter everything through the scriptures. In any event, let me finish my preface by saying, and some of you may be mad at what I'm about to say, it won't be the first, won't be the last. Anywho, I'll say it like this. I'm not convinced that Derek Chauvin won't be acquitted on appeal or even given a lesser sentence, Salakia. And here's why. Now, did Derek Chauvin commit murder? An emphatic yes. But I worry about how the defense will exploit the legal definition of third-degree murder, the so-called intimidation of the jury you're now hearing as of late, and how all that impacted his receiving of a fair trial. Maybe worry is the wrong word, because you and I know, you know what, let me get this. This is Psalms chapter 58, verse 3, and it reads, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Esau is a natural born liar, and this clearly orchestrated distraction of a trial being his theatrical production / psyops, if you will. Ultimately, I believe the desired effect is to spark civil unrest amongst the masses. Let's get into this audio from MREX Spooky Hours, and the only thing I would add is to be patient as I play it. Keep your Israelite buffer on and spiritual eye open. Let's get it.
Shouts to Yusuf. I'm good. Shouts to the whole DMV. What's going on?
In this one for 2 weeks, right before Ramadan, I was at a cookout, right? Hitting the J with my neighbor, man, and just out of nowhere stood up, man, and was like, you know, kirking out, man, and just like going crazy. And we trying to find out what's going on. And he was like, y'all such and such as, you know what I'm saying, think that everything's sweet out here, but let me tell you a story from when I was a little kid. You know, he was just talking about everything that's going on with them troopers knocking us off, you know what I mean? So he said that when he was a kid, him and two of his homies was riding a bike out here in Southern Maryland. You know what I mean? I'm not from this side, so you know what I'm saying? I don't know too much about out here, but he was saying the three of them was riding their bikes. And I dig this, right? I mean, this is like some movie type stuff. And I got to keep it clean because it's Ramadan, right? But homie said that him and his little homies was riding a bike, right? They went up this hill that's right around the corner from where we was at the cookout, and it's right in Southern Maryland off of what's called Solomon's Island. It's a real famous beach up here that everybody go to hang out at. He said back in the early 80s when him and his little homies was riding his bike, they rode to the top of the hill and saw this house, right? He said it was just like right before sundown. And unfortunately, if you do your research about that part of Southern Maryland, that's where a lot of lynches and everything was taking place back in the late 50s or early 60s. So he said him and his little homies on this bike, and they see this house, and they get terrified. So what they did was that they spent the Jones to like Buster U, right? As they going down the hill, he put his hands up and said, here's his hand to Allah, right? He said that they heard chains rattling because right before the house, it was like 4.5 acres of woods, right? He said they heard chains rattling, so they stopped their little BMXs and they turned around. And he said out of nowhere, man, it was like 6 or 7 Dobermans on chains. Now dig this, right? They not loose. Them Joneses on chains running through these woods in front of this house.
Wow.
So he said they like break out, right? You know what I'm saying? And there's a little creek at the bottom of the hill. He drove us there and showed it to us and everything, dog. If I could have sent a picture and you could have posted it up instead of what you got on there right now, that alone to make the hair on the back of your neck stand up, man, when I finish telling you the story. And I'm going to try to wrap it up, man.
I'm going to say this.
I'm on this junk.
I'm going to say this, though.
Hello?
My head's already stood up when you mentioned the Dobermans with the chains. You know what I'm saying? So
No. That ain't even it.
Okay.
That's not it.
Let's
ain't it.
Let's
that
get
ain't
it.
That ain't it.
Okay, let's get
The
it.
Bama let these Jones go, man, on these 3 little boys riding bikes. He said they turned around and all he heard at first was chains. So they stopped their bikes and they looked behind them, and there's 7 Dobermans running through the woods in front of this house in their direction. So they break camp at the bottom of this hill, and it spirals from the house, right? That's what made them go up there in the first place, because they was intrigued at what was at the top of this junk. So it spirals down and it goes into this little creek. He said they haul ass, astaghfirullah, going down this hill, man, and they end up hitting a bump in the road and falling in this creek, and the Dobermans are standing right there.
Wow.
So look, he say they hit a curb and one of his homies' bike flipped into the creek. So he thought it'd be all safe if they all jump in the creek. Here's the scary part about this. And when I tell people, man, you know what I'm saying? It's like one of the first chapters in the book that I'm writing, man, that the real monsters is not what we see on TV, dog. They the ones in real life. They flip over the curb, right? You know what I'm saying? His Bama his friend fall in the water, so they all think it's safe to get in the water and like duck their head. The Doberman standing right there barking. Slim said, imagine the movie Christine, right, with the engine, and I'm explaining it to you exactly the way he explained in the
That's
movie.
one of my favorite movies.
This spiral hill that's coming down from this Bama house that he showed me, he said that he heard the engine of something slowly creeping around that spiral saying, I'm about to kill you niggas.
Say word.
I'm about to kill you niggas. And he said they ducked their head up out of the water, man, and it was a red and white, you know them old murder vans that be on the movies? He said it was like one of them old murder vans, man, and it was about 4, no disrespect to my Edomites that's on here, but it was like 4 hunkies in that joint, you know what I'm saying? You know, for him, man, and he said that they swam up under the water, man, to get away from them, dog. And just looking at what's happening to our youngers out here, man, with these troopers knocking them off, man, you know, I thought that was relevant for what's going on today, man, because things like that have not only taken place today, man, but that's been happening ever since we've been over on this continent, man.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? And that's spooky as crap to me, man, because they knocking our youngers off, man.
Now, obviously, some things in that audio, being a Hebrew Israelite, we don't subscribe to, like the gunshots and, you know, the Most High's name and his son's name is Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, and the only way to Yahweh is through his son. Nothing more, nothing less. But don't let that overshadow the gist of this gentleman's story. Matter of fact, like most of the things going on in this world, those things were just distractions, other than the fact that this is more proof, this thing of ours has spread far and wide. In any event, it's easy to chalk things up that can't readily be explained as a conspiracy theory or spookism. But one thing's for sure, two things for certain. It's just as this Jake said, the real boogeyman is not the fictional characters the elite present to us in order to command our subservience out of fear. It's the men behind the curtains, the ones pulling the strings that conspire against us in the dark. Those are the ones we have to pay attention to and be aware of. Yeah, Derek Chauvin is responsible of George Floyd's death. Undisputed. But I guarantee you, if the other two officers didn't hold Mr. Floyd down, there's a chance he might have been here today. But don't worry about that, though. Worry about the powers that shouldn't be, who decided it proved more prudent to try Derek Chauvin separately, conveniently under the illusion of overcrowding due to the scamdemic. If you don't understand the ramifications and loopholes that creates within itself, then you are not paying attention to the right thing. Let's toast to shallow victories, I guess. I'm gonna close with this. This is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, and it reads, we'll start at 11. Put on the whole armor of the heavenly power, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against the flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day. That evil day is the here and now, and we are no doubt in the end times, in the times of Jacob trouble. Our war is not a carnal one. It is an engagement against spiritual forces in high places, the elite leadership of this world, the wiles of the devil, meaning the trickery and deceit and the cunning arts of Esau Edom on high, pursuant to his blessing on the left-hand side of the Lord. Again, verse 13, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of Yahweh, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. And that begins with putting down your pride and giving ear to the men of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, set up to teach this truth, the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of these scriptures, the good news, which is the gospel, that Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, and you Israelite foreigners scattered across the other nations, have a Savior, Deliverer, and Redeemer in the sacrifice made by Yahweh Shai. Importantly, pray that Yahweh continues to give you faith. Pray for deliverance in times of trouble and understanding the things that may appear out of reach. Also important is to remain circumspect, Yasharallah, because they say the biggest lie ever told is that the devil doesn't exist. Call halal Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash to the power and spirit. I hope you are edified. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who teach us 100% truth and rule well. Salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom, Yasharallah. Remember, don't take that test, don't take that jab, and damn sure don't take that chip. Shalom.